Welcome to our executive video interview series on leveraging modern networks to better serve citizens. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and we're delighted to be speaking with Jason Hebbe, Chief Technology Officer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you so much for having me, Wyatt.
So I'd like to start by asking, what steps has the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania taken over the past couple of years to really modernize its networks and network performance?
Sure. Yeah. So we have recently deployed a geo-diverse network core. So that was a huge initiative for us to have geo-diverse redundancy in our core network capabilities. The enterprise data center here in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, as well as our secondary data center, have geo-diverse cores deployed. It allows us for redundant connectivity to all of our local area, wide area, and internet connectivity needs, including cloud providers, and gives us the survivability we need if something were to happen to one of those sites. And that's been huge for us. We've also deployed central IT Wi-Fi, right? So our Wi-Fi capabilities, so as people are moving from one building to another, it's a seamless experience for them. Obviously in hybrid telework environment that we're all in, that's a huge benefit to our employees and staff augmentation resources. We've deployed enterprise DHCP to manage our networks and the subnets that we're using for the various services we provide. And the cloud services, which I mentioned from a geo-diverse standpoint, we continue to build those out, make sure that they're fully redundant in the case that those cloud services are fully accessible in every possible scenario. We've modernized our firewalls and allowed to maintain the security posture and things we need to in that enterprise network space that we're in with that hybrid connectivity, right? Virtual workforce, cloud connectivity, et cetera. So security is paramount with the firewalls that we have. And we have a robust VPN that we deployed as a part of the geo-diverse workforce, and it's been hugely successful. Allows us to kind of work from everywhere with high-speed connectivity, and that has been great for us. And last but definitely not least, just a continued focus on security. Security is paramount in everything we do from a network standpoint.
Well, it certainly sounds like you and your IT team have been pretty busy the last couple of years and also made a lot of headway. Provide a little context for our viewers. What were some of the network challenges that the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was facing, and how would you say modern solutions like SD-WAN and other network performance enhancing tools have made a difference?
Sure. So obviously the pandemic came out of nowhere. So I will call that out as one of the biggest challenges that we faced. So once again, back to being able to deliver the VPN connectivity that we needed to for our employees to maintain the systems and solutions and the business services that we provide to our constituents. That was huge. And as a part of that, right, we had a plan to modernize and tech refresh a lot of our network infrastructure and capabilities that was impacted by supply chain constraints. So that was another big challenge for us. So, we had the budget approved to go do these things. We were placing orders and there were delays in getting the equipment we needed to, quickly respond and get those tech refresh things done. The other things, challenges are, once again, back to the cloud connectivity and everything else we're doing, is security, right? Now our attack surface continues to increase when you add new network connections, and that was paramount, right? Is just to make sure that our security capabilities at the perimeter, at the edge, internally, were as robust as possible and continue to focus on that. And then that kind of leads into compliance, right? We're constantly making sure that not only we're adhering to all of our internal policies, that we're remaining compliant with, federal guidelines and things like that for all of the agencies we serve as central IT. And then last, to your question on SD-WAN, that has been great for us, right? So remote locations, whether it be Pennsylvania State Police or, county assistance offices and those kind of things, SD-WAN has been huge for us. Allows for a diverse set of connection options for them based on whatever their geographic location and what is available to them. And it also helps with not having to long haul all of that traffic back through the central network that I just talked about. If things can go straight to the cloud in a secure fashion, and SD-WAN has really, really helped us out there.
Appreciate your outlining those. Next, if you wouldn't mind, share your perspective on the role of managed network service providers in helping state agencies improve overall network performance and security, as you mentioned, compared to trying to, deploy upgrades, kind of just internally, as many agencies are still trying to do.
Yeah, so once again, we are central IT here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So we have a lot of oversight and control there. Really the core of the managed network service provider. But we do rely heavily on our partners and some contractual relationships we have with our connectivity providers, especially in the telecommunication space, to help us with perimeter security, those kind of things, web application firewall services, monitoring of security incidents and those kind of things at the perimeter. We're also doing that internally with our own security operations team. Yeah, at the end of the day, we are that core, but we do rely heavily on our partners that provide us some of those services or those infrastructure components to make sure that they're configured properly, that we're staying on top of the latest and greatest, and reaching out to those subject matter expertise that they have, right? Some of those solution providers are global. All right, they're seeing a much larger picture than we are and can bring those things to the table, make us aware, so that we can build those into our roadmap as it relates to deployment and moving forward. So the relationships are important, even though we do provide those core services internally, but manage those external relationships and make sure that they're healthy, because that's very important to us. So we're kind of in a hybrid mode, if you will.
And can you illustrate perhaps how your internal agency customers are benefiting from greater network connectivity and also service delivery in a managed service approach as a result of network modernization?
Sure. I think first and foremost, like I said, the geo-diverse core has been great. It gives them the connectivity they need, regardless of which building they're in, knowing that there's survivability in most circumstances, right, that we've prepared for. So that's been good for the agencies we serve. The other piece would be the higher speeds and bandwidth capabilities that we're able to provide through central IT, as opposed to each agency going out and procuring their own connectivity needs. We can get larger connectivity pipes in place that support their current and future business needs. And then also, once again, maintain the security posture that we need to consistently across the board. So that would be one. The layers of redundancy is another one, right? So, the last thing we want to do is have an agency not be able to perform their core business function because they can't get connected to the services. So making sure that we've got redundant network connectivity everywhere we can, redundant network infrastructure wherever we can. So that's another benefit that they see. And, having that centralized allows us to standardize. So standardization of those services really helps, both from a delivery standpoint as well as a service support standpoint, right? We don't have 10 different technologies we're using with pocketed, skill sets. We make sure that the full staff understands the breadth and depth of everything that we have deployed. So generating those standards, deploying those standards is hugely important to us. And then finally, back to that VPN. That enterprise VPN solution that services all the agencies under the governor's jurisdiction allows us for a consistent approach from a security standpoint, maintaining policies for the types of users that connect and what they're capable of accessing, et cetera.
Makes a lot of sense. And then lastly, Jason, what additional advice would you offer other state agencies as they look to modernize their networks?
Sure. Start with standardization. Once again, that has been hugely beneficial for us. Having a core set of capabilities and making sure that we've standardized on those and we roll those out consistently, but also realizing that sometimes you have a unique business need or requirement where your standard doesn't fit, and then working collaboratively with the agencies to work through modifying that service offering or enhancing that service offering. So standardization would be huge. Monitoring and reporting. Can't say it enough that the last thing you want is your customers telling you you're having a network problem. You want to be ahead of the curve there and be aware of that and trying to troubleshoot and get that remediated as quickly as possible. And then finally, on that particular note, reporting. Making sure that we're providing accurate reporting as it relates to, bandwidth consumption, outages, our change management process and things are being accurately communicated through the reporting that we do. So those would be huge. Probably should have had it first, but it is, security. Once again, everything we do from a server standpoint, a network standpoint, an application deployment standpoint, security is our #1 focus and needs to be. Would obviously state that redundancy, if you don't have network redundancy, that should be a focus. Look for where your single points of failure are, and get those resolved before they bite you potentially. And then zero trust, I think, is another one. It's been thrown around a lot lately, and I know everybody kind of defines it a little bit differently, but we are on that journey as well. Trying to leverage what NIST has outlined as a zero trust approach to things. And that's multifaceted, right? That's user access, that's network access, and everything that goes along with that. So that continued focus on zero trust. And the big thing there is, right, you're minimizing your blast radius, if you will. That's a term I just heard at the most recent NASTD conference. You're minimizing your blast radius by making sure that you've appropriately built out a zero trust framework with your applications and services deployed.
Well, certainly appreciate your mentioning the idea of blast radius. I think that probably is a new coin of the realm and one that'll get more traction as we speak. But more importantly, Jason, Hebbe, thank you so much for sharing your broader insights and observations about improving network performance for state government agencies. Really appreciate your sharing all that with us.
My pleasure, and thanks again for having me.